Shalom again, Israel. Okay, this is going to be a real short series right here. Okay, I want to finish up the Feast of Tabernacles and the Messianic reign of the Messiah. Okay, I left off in verse 20 in the book of Vayikra, the 23rd chapter, the 40th verse. Okay, so I just want to get right back into it so there's no misunderstanding what I'm talking about. The more we understand the Messiah's calendar, okay, the Messiah's appointments, the better we will understand where we are at in these last days here. Okay, so the Feast of Tabernacles is very, very important for us to understand. Now, verse 40, it says, "And you shall take you on the first day the fruit bowls, the fruit of goodly trees, branches of palm trees." These palm trees are gathered during the time of the Feast of Tabernacles. This is very, very important because there are code words in the scriptures that we have to identify to help us to understand what the whole thing is talking about. If we can get a handle on what's going on in these feast days, it answers basically all of the questions that a lot of brothers and sisters are having. But in order to answer these questions, we have to make sure we understand the feast days. It's all about repentance, coming back into covenant relationship with the Messiah, and also understanding that the Messiah has an appointment. Okay, he has a calendar. The Messiah is following everything according to the way that it was laid out to us when we came out of Egypt. All right, that's very important for us to understand. And again, "And you shall take you of the first day the fruit of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and the fruit of fig trees, and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice." Now, the word rejoice is the Strong's number, okay, 8055, and the word is samak. It's 8055, 8056, and 8057. And what I want to capitalize here now on the word rejoice, it is extreme rejoicing. And the word Feast of Tabernacles, okay, is also associated with the word ingathering. And the word ingathering is very, very important. The reason why we say the word ingathering is because the Messiah is going to now ingather the 12 tribes of Israel that scattered abroad. And that's very important because remember, the nation of Israel was scattered amongst the four corners of the earth. And at the fall feast, what we have now is the final stage of the 7 holy convocations that the scriptures talk about. We have Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Pentecost, and then the 7th month we have the blowing of the trumpets, we have the Day of Atonement, and we have the Feast of Tabernacles. It is very important for us to understand that these feast days all, okay, allude to the coming of the Messiah. All of it. We must understand the Messiah's appointments. That's very, very important for us to understand. Now, again, what I was bringing out here now in the book of Vayikra, the 23rd chapter, the 40th verse, is palm trees. Now, when we go to Revelation, okay, Revelation, the 7th chapter, and I'm just going to read here, verse 9. It says, "After this is John the Revelator. John the Revelator at this time is a prisoner in Asia Minor on the island of Patmos. After this I beheld," which is John the Revelator, "and I beheld, and lo, a great multitude which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, stood before the throne, and before the Lamb. The Lamb is the Messiah, with white robes and palms in their hands." So the question is, what festival occasion is this, okay, where these people now have palms in their hands? This festival, holy convocation here, is called the Feast of Tabernacles. This is the messianic reign of our Hamashiach, Yahushua, some say Yeshua. It's very important that we understand this. This is talking about the ingathering of the nation of Israel. I'm going to read down to the 10th verse. "And cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our power, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb." So what we have here now, this is a great celebration. All of the celebrations, okay, that we talked about from Passover up until the final holy convocation that happens in the seventh month, all right, it's leading to now, again, the last one. And this is a great, extreme, this is one of the biggest festivals of all festivals. This is a festival of rejoicing. All right, that's the reason why I brought out these Strong's numbers. Check out the strong numbers in your concordance, and it would help you to understand the importance of the Feast of Tabernacles. And when we see in Revelations, the 7th chapter, the 10th verse, and they cried with a loud voice, saying, "Salvation to our power." I can't explain it enough. It's just a joyful occasion. It's the Feast of Tabernacles. It's the end of the Holy Convocations. We have the barley harvest, and we have the wheat harvest. This is the end of the season. And this also coincides what's going on, okay, with the ingathering of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. This is what this is talking about. This is the ingathering. This is a season of joy. And what we have here now is that these brothers and sisters here are rejoicing in the Feast of Tabernacles, and this ties in perfectly what's going on here in the book of Vayikra, the 23rd chapter, the 40th verse. Okay, with that, again, I hope that this has been enlightening and helping us to understand the feast days. And the feast days, every last one of them, okay, is an illusion. It's alluding to the coming of the Messiah. And the Messiah fulfilled the first part of it will be called the spring feast. And so what we're doing now is waiting for the reign of the Messiah when he fulfills the fall feast. And again, the fall feast is the sighting of the new moon in the 7th month, which is the blowing of the trumpets, which is the announcement. And then we have now on the 10th day, we have the Day of Atonement. And then after that, we have the Messiah dwelling. The word is Sukkot, because the word dwelt in Hebrew is Sukkot. The Messiah is now dwelling or tabernacling amongst his people. Okay, and again, with that, I hope this was very educational. If there's any questions about anything that I said, leave a message and I will elaborate on this as best as I can in helping us to understand this. And one more point I want to bring out too now. There's also a lot of questions about the strangers. And the feast days again answers every single thing. This is the reason why the Messiah told us now we're not supposed to glean the corners of the field. Is because this is supposed to now be for the strangers. Now you will only get this understanding when you understand the Holy Convocations. We are not supposed to glean the field because this gives now food or nourishments for the other nations, the strangers. And the perfect example of this is when we find the woman whose daughter is sick, and the Messiah says, "I am not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and let the sheep first be fed." That's exactly correct. But these are agricultural harvest terms. We have to understand that the Messiah is always speaking to the nation of Israel in regards to agricultural terms. All right, so we have to understand that. And then the woman says, even the dogs eat from the master's table. And so we see that this woman did get the crumbs, or she did get a chance, okay, to glean amongst the field. And this is the breakdown also with the story of Ruth, which I will go into detail a little bit later about the strangers. We are not supposed to glean the fields. The Messiah is talking to us in agricultural terms. Okay, and again, if there's any questions about anything that I'm saying, I will go into detail about it. But in understanding the scriptures now, we have to make sure that we understand, okay, the feast days. They are very, very important. And with that, again, I hope this has been enlightening, and I'll see you the next time with Watchmen of the Faith Ministries. With that, I say shalom.